And our next talk is related but differently exciting and very appropriate. It's called R&D in a challenging economic climate, but it's looking at fiscal advantage to the business from investment in R&D and how you do it tax efficiently and so on. So I'd like to welcome Nigel Warren, who's account director in corporate tax at Ernst & Young. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. If you're expecting 20 minutes on tax and thinking about going and getting another coffee, I'm pleased to tell you that I've been warned that is not what you want. It's certainly not what Southwest RDA want. What I'm going to do is leverage off some information that our renewable energy group based in Exeter. We have about 25 people based in Exeter that advise companies involved in climate change and wind and CHP type projects. I'll explain what those are later. I'm going to leverage a little bit off their view of what's happening in the marketplace to give some sort of context to what I'm going to say later. I will then come to the tax reliefs which are available. I won't go into them in great detail. There'll be opportunities for questions and I shall be here over lunch. But I wanted to set the tax technical bit in some sort of context. We've already heard this morning in the introductory comments from Robin, the focus that there is on climate change, the opportunities that there are for the Southwest and the South Coast offered to small, medium enterprises from changing climate. We can debate why that's happening, why there's a changing climate, but from a business perspective, the opportunity is immense. It's so immense, and again, that these are some numbers which our specialist team have put together from various sources. They reckon that something like $100 billion will be spent in the UK on renewable energy before 2020. Now, when you're talking about those sorts of numbers, I don't think we'll care too much whether it's 2025 or 2018. 18, of course, would be better. They're huge sums. Compare that to 100 billion was spent in the year 2008, that's worldwide. The climate change issue is always in the headlines, it's always on the news, local and national and international, and the Obama administration, of course, is pushing through its climate change and clean energy bill and talking about huge sums of money. Our own government has talked a lot about the issue. We could debate, perhaps over a coffee later, whether they're putting the money where their mouth is. In terms of some survey work that we've done, using a number of different indices, which I could show you later, we have ranked countries by, if you like, their size of market, the size and value of the opportunity for this kind of technology. And on top is Germany, mainly because of their manufacturing sector and the very high carbon emissions. Number 2 is the USA, for that reason, and also because of this bill and the money that's being talked about in terms of spend in the USA. The fifth is the UK, which is pretty high out of a ranking of some 50. And it takes into account things like a willingness to spend money, a willingness to invest in technology, and of course the scale of the problem. So the market is huge. We've already heard that it is relevant to the Southwest. I think the answer is a resounding yes to that question. One of the reasons why it's relevant is probably one of the reasons why we love to live down here. Maybe not the wind, but the waves, and perhaps if we're sailors, to some extent the tides. We have the natural resources to develop these technologies and to get the best from them. Our team think that the offshore wind industry is where the bulk of the spend will be. Biomass is important, onshore wind is important too, probably less of a spend in that sector given the planning issues and those sorts of challenges which can come from that. And although it's strengthened a little bit against the euro, I think in recent weeks, the substantial fall over the last few months in the pound against the euro is actually making it cheaper for often Scandinavian companies or the Northern European companies who have some of this technology to come in to the UK and to invest. And so the Northeast has attracted Clipper Wind, Thames Gateway is looking at a deep water investment park, and of course we have the Wave Hub, which I've already heard mentioned this morning. So a huge market, plenty of opportunity for us all. Now, on this slide, I've put some of the drivers for the change. What's driving the change? How does industry have to adapt to respond and to maximise the value of the opportunities which climate change presents? Well, clearly regulation is a big issue, particularly for larger companies. ETS is the emissions trading standards. CRC is carbon regulations. It's the EU version of the ETS scheme. So there's a huge amount of regulation around clean tech, around large industries. There are economic factors which are driving this interest in this sector. Landfill tax is £40 per tonne, and it is rising at £8 per annum, so that's a clear cost factor. People want to reduce that and the amount of waste that they produce. There's obviously product displacement, led by leading-edge companies who are keen to establish their green credentials within the marketplace. That's leading to people like supermarkets, particularly in the food industry, only giving shelf space to greener or cleaner technology products. Carbon prices are driving the economics, but there's a warning shot there. If you're looking at modelling a project and looking at the future profitability, carbon prices are incredibly volatile. You'll see there that during the recession, that has driven the prices down. In fact, it's pretty much half them from 28 euros per tonne to around 14 per tonne. But those could well go back up over the life of the projects. And some of the larger projects that we're talking about in this sector, of course, take many years to build and to come to fruition. But there are things that companies can do.